I've been trying to tell people they're really good, and I don't think there's going to be this collapse that we saw at the end of last year. Of course, losing in Gainesville was a big part of that, but
Yeah.
I just think they're talented enough and they're good enough that they're going to be deep into the playoffs.
The interesting thing, or one of the interesting things about this team is the roster that Ole Miss has this year is not as talented as the roster they had a year ago. I mean, that was a roster last season that had 6 NFL guys on it. They were deep on the defensive line. They obviously had a first-round quarterback in Jackson Dart, who did not play well in that game against Florida a year ago.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Meldon Law Studios at the Hacienda. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for listening or watching. We got a great show today. Richard Cross is going to join us. Richard does ESPN and SEC network games. He's all over the network. In fact, he's going to Stillwater this week for that game. But he knows Ole Miss. He does radio out there as well on Sports Talk Mississippi, and we look forward to talking to Richard. He's a good dude, man. And then Coach Spurrier, that will be our 500 show. We miscounted there. I miscounted. That'll be our 500 show with Coach Spurrier on Monday. We may lie to Billy Horschel and Urban Meyer, who are both scheduled to join us on Thursday for what is not really our 500 show, but we'll tell them it's still our 500 show because that's the way I sold it to them. But anyway, whatever happens, we'll have them on, and that'll be fun. Billy Horschel will be great. Urban will be great. Maybe I'll just get Urban to do yes, no, where. Maybe that'd be cool. I could ask him some tough questions. You will be in the Ring of Honor. Well, he will be. All right, so that's what we got on the docket. And let's get to our Royal Blue starting 5, brought to you by Randy Royal over at Royal Blue Yacht Sales, a place to go if you need a boat. There's no question about it. It is the only place to go if you need a boat. Let's go to number 1. The number 1 story of the week, to me, is that basketball beat FSU again. And look, it was not pretty at times. Certainly, Florida dominated the boards. Had that 9-point lead, let them get back in it. They had a 3 to tie it and missed it. Missed a free throw to tie it as well. It's early. That's all I want to say. It's game 3, and there's been a lot of people complaining, this guy this and this guy that. Everybody calm down. It's 3 games into the season. Yeah, no, they can't shoot. They can't make threes, and look, last year's team was ridiculously good at threes. Now, were they good in the 3 games into the season? Not that good, to be honest with you. Go back and look at the numbers. They are good. They ended up being great, and they were great at the best time. I'm hoping this will come out. I thought it was great, and I can't remember who posted this on Twitter. Xavier Lee, after everybody left the arena, was out there shooting threes, trying to feel it, because he can't make them. Nobody can make them. And let's face it, they are just a bad 3-point shooting team right now. Luckily, Clabchar made a huge one from the corner that helped Florida win that game. That's 5 straight over FSU, and that's never a bad thing in any sport, but certainly in basketball. Remember that FSU beat Florida the year that Florida won the second time Florida won the national title. Because I remember being there I think we were in the press box for a press conference about Florida going to the national championship game in Oklahoma. Yeah. No, that would have been the first one. No, it would have been the second one. Anyway, whatever it was. Anyway, it's good to win that game. And like I said, guys, it's really early. You're all right. The Gators are going to be just fine. They're not going to go 36-4 last year. They're not going to do that. Okay. That team was amazing. That was an elite team. Right now, they've got some issues. And Condon's 6 turnovers in 2 games, the Arizona game and this game, the 2 games that mattered. He's got to solve that problem. There's no question about it. And look, I trust Todd Golden and his staff, Carlin Hartman and all those guys over there. They're going to get it solved. Again, they're okay. Got a big game on Sunday. Need to win that one. You win that one, you've won the state, right? Don't worry about it. When you worry about it is if they start losing a bunch of games. It's all about winning. All right. That's the number one story to me. 5 straight wins over FSU in basketball. Doesn't stink. They're not bad though. And here's the weird thing. And I did a chat on Patreon the other day. I'm doing a lot of stuff for Patreon. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of got my writing chops back where I'm trying to come up with ideas and coming up with all these stories because I don't have radio anymore, which is fine. It's my choice at the end of the day that I wasn't going to do it anymore. They helped me out with it. But the bottom line is I'm writing a lot of stuff for them. And if you want to get on board, come on board, man. There's a free membership and there's also a paid membership where you get a lot, including my back nine. The back nine, I think I'll go ahead and do one more that'll be for the free membership, but then it's going to be behind a paywall. It's $5 a month, okay? That's not much, and I'm going to give you a ton of stuff. Anyway, let's move to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is that Florida is going to Ole Miss, going to Oxford this weekend. I used to not like the trip because I never got to do anything in Oxford. We'd always stay in Memphis because you couldn't get a room in Oxford, so we'd have to stay in Memphis, and we'd always have a decent time there. I actually liked Memphis a lot. I was there for basketball that Final Four year with Patrick Young and those guys. But we didn't really do a whole lot there. Anyway, so we never really got to see Oxford, and you would take this to get to the stadium, you had to kind of go around downtown to get to the stadium. So we never really saw downtown. So it was not one of my favorite trips. I hear Oxford downtown is tremendous, and I know Jeff Cardozo was telling me he loves it over there. So anyway, I'm not going either way, but I will watch it on TV, and I think it's going to be probably pretty ugly. Florida is a 15-point underdog for a 7:00 night game, and we'll talk to Richard Cross about that. Caleb Banks was upgraded to doubtful from out. I don't think he's playing, though. I would be stunned if he played in this game. This is a guy who, still has a chance to get drafted. He's not going to be first rounder now, missing all this time. But I think he wants to be fully healthy before he goes out and maybe plays the last 2 games. It won't be a bowl game. So the big question is going to be, what is Florida's attitude? Now, again, I don't really want to say anybody quit last Saturday night. But there were guys not playing. There wasn't a lot of enthusiasm. There's a difference between not playing hard and quitting, I guess. Some people say there is no difference. I think there is a little bit of a difference. I go back Tuesday and Wednesday. I guarantee you. Now I wasn't out there, and I haven't talked to anybody who was, but I guarantee you Tuesday and Wednesday they did not have good practices because that looked like a team that did not practice well, or maybe practice at all. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. I just hope that they come to play, that they come ready to play and make it at least an interesting game. Another thing, Trey Wilson out for the year too. Dallas Wilson out for the year. Injuries have been a big issue on this team, and they struggle with foot injuries for some reason. And there's no explanation for why that is, but maybe somebody knows, but why they've had so many foot injuries. My question is, I hope that last Saturday against Kentucky was the bottom. And Dr. Pete told me a great story about the 0-10-1 season. And they're playing, I think they're playing at Miami. And he's walking out after the game back to the locker room with Charlie Pell. Charlie Pell takes a drag on his Vantage cigarette, throws it down, steps it out, and goes, "Dr. Pete, now you know what the bottom looks like." That was the bottom. 0-10-1 was the bottom. A lot of people think Charlie wanted to go 0-10-1 so we could bring him back the next year, but I don't believe that. Here's what I do know. I hope this team is bottomed out, because it might be Saturday that they bottom out against a way better team than Kentucky. Don't forget, this is a really good team. This team has one loss for a reason. They've got an elite quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss. Yeah, they have a really good running back. Kyron Lacy leads the SEC or leads the nation in touchdowns. I think he has 16 touchdowns already this year. They got a good defense. They're a really good team. The one loss was to Georgia, and they were leading in double figures in the fourth quarter and just kind of let it get away. Georgia knows how to win. But this is a team that's going to make the playoffs. This is a team that's going to maybe be in Atlanta. They got a lot to play for. I don't know what Florida's got to play for, but you could stun the world as 15-point underdogs, I guess. According to mybookie.ag, that's what it is. So we'll see what happens there. Number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, there seems to be a trend that the hacks are writing about how DJ Lagway will be gone after this year. New coach will come in, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's writing that. Everybody's saying, what if it's a defensive coach? Well, I can't think of who would be a defensive coach that anybody would be happy with right now. It better be an offensive coach. I don't care who it is, but, well, I do care who it is. If it's Kiffin, if it's Drinkwitz, I don't think Florida's hiring Marcus Freeman. Somebody reason people think he's going to LSU. I find that hard to fathom. I think Notre Dame's a better job, to be honest with you. Notre Dame gets in the playoffs before LSU if they are exactly equal because they're Notre Dame, because of the brand. So we'll see what happens there. But I just don't think I think he's waiting to see who the coach is and wants to learn from that coach. And I think he's got a great situation here in terms of the NIL. Now, who's going to go, oh, DJ Lagway, let's see, let me look at your stats. What, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and you want how much for NIL? So it'll be an interesting dynamic, but I would not dismiss DJ Lagway as being a bust, and he's not going to be around here. He might be around here, and he might get the right coaching, and he might turn out to be pretty good. He is not a bad player. He's just not good at quarterback right now. Right now, he is not a good quarterback. And I don't think he's going to get any better this week or in the following 2 weeks. And I think personally, Florida's going to end up 3-9. I think that's what their record's going to be. They're lucky they beat Mississippi State, right? And they beat Texas. Think about it. It's crazy. College football is crazy. All right, let's move along to our Royal Blue starting 5, to our number 4, and that is story came out just now that Mel Tucker continues. The hits just keep coming for Michigan State. They were given 3 years probation, and they had to vacate some wins. Now, they had to vacate wins over a 3-year period, 14 of them, all over 3 years. There's a reason why Mel Tucker's not there. That is an interesting dynamic, him getting that huge contract after he had one good season. They overspent on him. They were afraid he was going to leave, and this is what happens. I would imagine maybe Jimmy Sexton's his guy. You better lock him up because we got teams coming after him. This is what happens. But 3 years probation and show cause for him and some of his assistants and his GM. Michigan State is not a football school anymore. Kind of like Florida right now is not a football school. But they're a basketball school. Hopefully. All right. Anyway, let's move to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is Florida fired another football coach on Wednesday. Yes. The football coach, not the football coach, a football coach. And that was Samantha Bohen got the axe. I was a little surprised, but not totally surprised. Her record in SEC play, 5-23-12. They can't score goals. They've built a team that's a very good defensive team, but they can't score. And at some point, you just got to get better. They have a better roster. And she took over a mess. We get that. She made it better. The roster is way better than what she inherited. And that's going to be good for the next person that comes in. They got a young roster with some good players. They just got to figure out how to score. I never really knew Samantha. I met her once, so I didn't really have a relationship with her. But I always hate it when coaches get cut loose. I'm sorry, I just do. I know it's not just them; it's their assistants, it's other people on the staff that get cut loose as well. But 5-23-12. I mean, it got to a point where Florida would be, if you can just tie them 0-0, 0-0. If you can just do that, that'll be a win. And that's not what anybody wants to go watch. That's the bottom line. I did talk to Scott Strickland about it today, and he agreed with me. You got to be better. You got to be better. I mean, they're not very good. She's done a good job of recruiting. She's done a good job of getting it better. And I don't know that Florida can ever be the Becky Burleigh national champs that they were after, 3 years into it. That was an amazing story. She got Danielle Fotopoulos, the best goal scorer in the world at the time in college, got her to come, I think, from SMU, and then signed Abby Wambach, and that's why they won the national title. And then she had the pieces to go around it. And then recruiting kind of fell off at the end of Becky's years, and then went on to a guy who was only here for a little while and had some issues. And so it was just a giant mess, and Samantha did a good job of making the roster better. Just wasn't a good on-field coach, and they lost a lot of games. So anyway, football. That is football. That's as much soccer as we're going to talk this week. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Richard Cross from ESPN and the SEC Network will join us. He knows the University of Mississippi very well, lives in Oxford, and look forward to talking to him right after we take this break on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hey Gator fans, the holidays are here, and you know what that means. Great food everywhere. Pies, cookies, all the food we just can't resist. But here's the thing, you don't have to give it all up to lose weight and be healthy this holiday season. BMI TeleMed can help you enjoy the holidays and keep your weight on track. Their medical weight loss program gives you the medication and the support and the guidance you need. You can still enjoy the holiday food, you'll just eat less of it, so you can actually lose weight and not add the pounds most of us do this time of year. Start the new year ahead of the game. Visit our friends and Gator alums, Charlie Gonzalez and Bob Parado, at bmitelemed.com to learn more. That's BMI Telemed, achieve and maintain.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's always great when we bring on our Thursday guests, and today's one of my favorites, Richard Cross, who does games for the SEC Network and for ESPN and does his own radio show out in Mississippi, so he knows about the Rebels. And certainly, Richard, I will say this on the record, Richard I've texted him multiple times saying what a great broadcast that was. He's really good at what he does, and I'm not saying that just because I want him to be nice to me. Richard, how are you today?
That's kind of you to say, Pat. I'm great. Pleasure being with you. Anytime I get to be with the great Pat Dooley, it's a good day. You are very kind, but the other part of that is I told you the game that I was doing this weekend, and you said I'm not watching that one. I've got Kansas State at Oklahoma State this weekend. That's another program that's looking for a new coach, Oklahoma State. So just in case we get into any coaching conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're in the same pool with LSU and Florida and Auburn and Penn State.
No, I don't think so.
They can get away with going and hiring a big time assistant somewhere,
Yeah. I think they would love to find another T. Boone Pickens, but those seem a little bit hard to come by.
Yeah, they are. They certainly have them all over the place. So, and there's going to be probably more of them with the economy the way it is, and president trying to give the break. So I'm not going to get political here, but there's going to probably be more millionaires. Let's go ahead and talk about this Ole Miss team though to start out, because look, I've been trying to tell people they're really good, and I don't think there's going to be this collapse that we saw at the end of last year. Of course, losing in Gainesville was a big part of that, but
yeah,
I just think they're talented enough and they're good enough that they're going to be deep into the playoffs.
The interesting thing, or one of the interesting things about this team is the roster that Ole Miss has this year is not as talented as the roster they had a year ago. I mean, that was a roster last season that had 6 NFL guys on it. They were deep on the defensive line. They obviously had a first-round quarterback in Jackson Dart, who did not play well in that game against Florida a year ago. He was banged up. I mean, that was pretty obvious that there was an ankle issue. But in terms of decision-making, even late in that ball game, it looked like there was panic there. And there was so much built around that team a year ago, right? They had the last dance mantra. They tied it to the Michael Jordan documentary, and it was all of the guys that came back. And so it was this perfect storm. And, to use a poker analogy, Ole Miss took all their chips and they pushed them into the middle of the table. And to their credit, I think they owned the fact there was no revisionist history at the end. We're like, well, it wasn't like we were real. No, they were committed to that season a year ago. And it was incredibly disappointing. And Lane Kiffin going into this season said, this is a year that is a little bit of kind of a reshuffling the deck, rebuilding, I guess is the term we always would have used. And it's not as deep or as talented a roster, but it is a roster that has stayed healthy. They've played really well together. They struck gold in terms of a backup quarterback after Austin Simmons' early injury, where Trinidad Chambliss comes in. He was a national championship quarterback at the Division II level, and he's worked really, really well in this offense. They're better at wide receiver than they were a year ago. And the guys that have kind of filled in on that defensive line that was just so elite last season, there's not the depth there, and there's not the top-end talent there, but they've been productive, and it's a defense under Pete Golding that really has had one of those marks that you look for in outstanding teams where they get better as they go along. And each of the last few weeks, they've made some incremental improvement on that side of the ball.
Yeah, the funny thing is Pete Golding was a guy who basically got run out of Alabama, but he's doing a great job at Ole Miss, and certainly the Trinidad Chambliss story is a great story, and everybody loves it. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he is so talented, and he knows how to play football, and that's something that is lacking here in Gainesville with DJ Lagway, is knowing how to play the game and knowing when to throw the ball, and when not to, and when to run, and when not to. And Chambliss has been almost spot on everything he's done.
You bring up DJ Lagway, and Pat, let's see, it was year before last. Chris Doring and I did the Florida spring game, and that was the year that Lagway had enrolled early, and so that was kind of the first chance that Gators fans had to see DJ Lagway, and there was a fairly significant amount of buzz surrounding that game. And standing on the field before the game and watching him throw, I was like, ooh, that's different. It looks a little different coming out of his hand. And I understand all the we're kind of at a point where anything Billy Napier said was like, oh, he was an idiot. He didn't know anything. Well, that's probably not entirely true. And he's obviously been around some really good football players, but he was excited at the time about DJ Lagway. And so were Florida fans, and with good reason. There's a lot of talent there, but for whatever reason, not only does it seem not to have worked, it seems to have regressed year over year. Lane Kiffin has spoken glowingly this week about DJ Lagway, and he was asked about, his progress or, has he regressed? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm not there. I'm not part of the development process on a day-to-day basis. What I do know is what I saw with my own eyes, and that's a guy that played really, really well against us, kind of fought through some injuries to do so a year ago. So Florida and DJ Lagway, even though it's not been a season that Florida fans wanted, and it certainly hasn't been the season that DJ Lagway wanted with against FBS competition, 8 touchdowns and 12 picks, there is talent in there. And I wonder what it's going to look like for DJ in the future, whether it's at Florida or somewhere else, with somebody else kind of in charge of his development.
Well, that is, to me, is the end game. Is why hasn't he been developed? And you can say all you want about missing spring and missing the early part of the fall camp because of the injuries, and he had surgery on his groin and in the off season, all that stuff. You can talk about it, but it's still not hard to teach a guy. You don't throw off your back foot all the time. You have to step into your throws, and you have to. If the first thing isn't there, you got to go to the second one. But he just doesn't seem to get it. And again, he needs a better coach. That's the bottom line. He needs somebody to coach him better than he's being coached, or move along if you don't want to change anything. That's the bottom line. But I'm sure that there's a lot of Ole Miss fans going, man, we're worried that all of a sudden Florida's going to find it, and they're not going to find it. Okay, it's not there to find. And I would think that Lane may actually keep his foot on the gas, and say, hey, I want to get back at you for last year. I want to impress the committee, and I want to let Florida fans know that this is either what you're going to get or what you're missing.
There may be something to that, and I mean, you say it's not there to find. I mean, if you watch that Kentucky game last week, like you can't help but I feel like it's a dirty word when we say quit about a football team, because I think all of us that are around teams and around the game know how much hard work goes into getting ready for a football season all year long. And I don't think there are players, at least not many of them, who put on a uniform on game day and walk out on the field and the thought of, you know what, I'm going to quit in this game is what they enter that game with. But when you've had a ton of adversity, it gets real easy to not push as hard as you might. Or if you're not playing with confidence, it's like, oh, here we go again, and body language creeps in, and then you're just not trying as hard. And if you're facing a team that is, and I think you get that with this Ole Miss team, considering where they are in terms of the college football playoff race, it's got a chance to be one-sided. But then the other piece of it is, when you take Trey Wilson out of the equation and you take Dallas Wilson out of the equation, and you've got a quarterback who's struggling with confidence and got benched in the game last week, and he's at like I'm bad at math here, so is it 0.67 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio?
Yeah.
That's all bad. That's a recipe, especially for a team that's going to be motivated in what is going to be as good an environment as there has been in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. And I know Ole Miss's stadium, because it's smaller than most in the SEC, gets a bad rap. Ole Miss is 20-1 in their last 21 home games. They've only lost at home 3 times under Lane Kiffin. 2 of those came during the COVID year, 1 to Florida, 1 to Alabama. Yep. They've been really, really good, and Ole Miss has created a good environment at home, and especially at night. And it's one that's going to be under the lights. It's going to be a really cool environment for college football on Saturday night.
It is pretty amazing that Florida fans are all, believe me, they're all in a Lane Kiffin or bust mode right now.
Oh, well, that's what we see watching from, 10 hours away.
Lane is 0-3 lifetime against Florida. He's never beaten them. This will be his first chance to beat him, because he lost at Tennessee once and twice at Ole Miss. And you mentioned that COVID year in Florida. That was the Kyle Pitts coming out party where he just went off.
He's still open.
He's still open. And if he's not open, he'll still go catch it.
There were two pretty good tight ends in that game. If you remember, that was the year that Ole Miss had Kenny Yeboah, who was just in Oxford for a year. He was a transfer from Temple, and if I remember correctly, he had a big game that day too. But he wasn't in Kyle Pitts territory.
Yeah, nobody played defense in that COVID year. I mean, everybody said, we don't want to get anybody hurt, so we're not going to hit in practice, because if we get hurt and we have COVID, we may not be able to field a team. So they just –
Well, you got to remember, it was hard for the defense to generate the energy from those silly cardboard faces that we had on the first three rows in the stands. I mean, you know, they weren't really providing the oomph that the defense needed to get going.
I remember Mullen complaining that A&M had too many people there in the game. He was really mad after the game. He goes, they had a big crowd, and I thought there was a COVID restriction. I goes, that's why you lost? That's not why you lost.
Those 20,000 really made a difference in that stadium.
They did. I did want to ask you about Mississippi State, too. I know you handle them, but I could ask you about the game you got this week, but I don't want to.
I completely understand.
But Mississippi State, it's certainly interesting to see how close they've come to being a really good team this year. And it's been so many games where they were right there on the edge.
Yeah.
Including the Florida game.
Yeah, and it's a team that I think doesn't know how to win. I mean, obviously they get it done against Arkansas a couple of weeks ago, and they snapped that long streak in the SEC, but you know, you look at their game against Tennessee, you look at their game against Texas, you look at their game against Florida, and it's like it was there for the taking. And in a lot of cases, you had big leads and just couldn't hold on to them. It's hard to win, right? I mean, you've been around it for a long time, and that sounds trite when you say it sometimes, but it is hard to win football games. It's hard to win SEC football games. I like Jeff Lebby a lot. I think he's a really great offensive mind. He's trying everything he knows to kind of create that culture. But with all of that said, this is a bottom line business, and it's a results-based business, and you either win or you lose. And so doing the whole, well, they've been close, it's a football team that scares you in terms of preparation, because you look at, you know, their wide receivers and their speed on the outside, but it's also a team that time after time after time has made critical mistakes in critical moments, and it's hard to win games like that. And if that's your DNA, do you just snap out of it because you won against the worst team in the league on the road in Arkansas in a game where Arkansas had two 14-point fourth quarter leads and couldn't hang on and committed 19 penalties? I don't know. I hope for Jeff's sake that they get it figured out. Certainly not on Black Friday. I would prefer they not get it figured out on that day. But and Mississippi State's an interesting spot, right? I mean, can they get over the hump? Can they build that in this environment that's so difficult and requires so much alignment and so much in the way of resources and everybody being bought in? Do they have that? Everybody says they want it, but wanting it and doing it and actually having it are two different things.
Do you think Arkansas keeps Petrino as their head coach?
How do you? I mean, I know there are a bunch of Arkansas fans that want it.
Yeah, because he scores a lot of points, but he doesn't win games.
But, like, I mean, if you're using the games that he has coached this year as a referendum on whether or not you hire him or not, I want to see on-field performance. I want to see buy-in from the team. I want to see some discipline. And I just mentioned it a second ago. Against Mississippi State 2 weeks ago, they had 19 penalties for 183 yards, and 30 of those yards or 15 of those yards were him losing his mind and his composure on the – when does a college football coach – we're not talking about a basketball coach getting a technical. We're not talking about a baseball coach getting ejected. When does a football coach get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty? It never happens.
No, because you can basically say anything to the refs if they know they've screwed up. You know,
I mean, the tapestry that he must have painted for that referee with that string of words, I'm sure it was impressive. Like if you just like set it on its side, be like, I didn't know you could put that combination of words together, and yet he did, and gets the penalty. I don't know how you do it. I think if you're an SEC fan, and you want everybody to lose and you want everybody to make bad hires, You hope that Arkansas goes that direction because it's a game that you feel pretty good about winning when you either travel to Fayetteville or Little Rock or they come to your place. I just don't think that makes sense long term. The James Franklin rumors that are floating around for Arkansas are fascinating. I'm kind of surprised with the number of openings that are out there right now that nobody has already just jumped on that and gotten a James Franklin deal done.
I think
Florida included, to be honest.
I think he's waiting to see if Florida is interested, if LSU's interested before he commits to Virginia Tech or Arkansas. That's my gut, but I mean that's just kind of the stuff I've been reading. Richard Cross from ESPN and the SEC Network coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. By the way, I wanted to ask you how your family's doing and how your golf game is.
Everybody's good. Thank you for asking. Wife's doing well. Her business in Oxford's great. Kids are growing, man. I've got a daughter that is now driving as a 10th grader, a son that just played his first year of junior high football, and then an 8-year-old who kind of runs the show for all of us. She's a mess. But no, everybody's good, and golf game's just okay.
Yeah.
Although
it's kind of where mine is.
there's a rumor that there's a pretty good golf course in Tulsa that is about an hour from Stillwater that I might or might not be able to sneak onto Friday afternoon.
Tulsa, is that no, that's not Southern Hills.
That is Southern Hills.
Southern Hills, yeah.
So
that's where John Daly won, didn't he? The PGA, I think. Maybe not.
Now he was at Crooked Stick, wasn't
he? Yeah, maybe it was Crooked Stick, yeah. That was in Birmingham, right?
Hey, I will thank you again, 15 years removed, for getting me on at Adena round one. Like the first that's come back online, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, you never know. It's a daily process down there.
Well,
but
that was a cool spot, and that happened because of you, and I appreciate it.
You liked that waterfall, didn't you?
It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. All right, it's time for us to play Yes, No, Where, or Maybe with Richard Cross. It is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Street dining done the right way. Go in there and say you listen to this podcast, and you get free French fries with your order. We appreciate Keith Miller over at our good friend Big Mills Cheesesteak. All right, number one, yes, no way, or maybe, and you're allowed to expound on your answer. Ole Miss finally makes it to Atlanta this year.
Maybe, but leaning toward no. And that's because I believe in Texas A&M and Alabama. And I don't think Texas A&M, I think they get it done against Texas this year, although that game is in Austin. Yeah. I don't see Alabama slipping. If Texas A&M were to slip, I don't think Georgia does. And Ole Miss obviously is behind Georgia with a tiebreaker.
Yeah, the tiebreaker, obviously Georgia would beat Ole Miss, but how does Alabama beat Ole Miss? Is it just who they've beaten, or?
Well, they're just undefeated in league play.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've lost one game, but it was again, it's still a mystery to me.
How they lost that game to Florida State?
So badly. They were dominated in that game.
They did.
Since then, FSU just pooped the bed.
Absolutely.
All right, number two, Jeff Levy is on any kind of a hot seat.
No way, but next year results need to be there. Look, Mississippi State could very well get to a bowl this year. They're playing a Missouri team this week with a third-string quarterback, and then they've got a rivalry game to close it out. They need to win in one of those two to get to 6 wins and be in a bowl game. That was kind of felt like what they needed to do to take a step forward this year. Next year will need to be a year where we're not talking about close results and they're almost there and lose all those games. They got to win some of those games next year.
Yeah, that was the problem with Napier. Napier's teams didn't get blown out. They got blown out at Texas because they didn't have a quarterback. They were all hurt. But other than that, they were right in every game. The problem was they couldn't get over that hump. They couldn't finish games. I think they scored 20 points in the fourth quarter so far this year. That's not good.
That's tough.
All right, finally, number three on Yes, No, Where, or Maybe with Richard Cross. The LSU Clown Show has been great entertainment during this football season.
Yes! Yes! And where do you start? I mean, preseason expectations that are off the chart because this LSU team spent mightily in the portal, and they built a roster that is a championship-level roster. I heard that over and over. And I heard the running game was going to be different. And the only 4,000-yard returning quarterback in all of college football, and Nussmeier. And this is the year that Brian Kelly and on and on and on. And
On and
Nussmeier's
on.
been a disaster, and they still can't run the ball, and the offensive line's been a problem, and they're still not using Harold Perkins the right way, and they fired
Oh,
Brian
God.
Kelly, and
Harold
they fired
Perkins
their
should be up for
athletics
the Heisman.
director.
He should be up for the Heisman. He should be that good that we have to
Yes.
consider him as a Heisman candidate. But he's
Yes.
not. And look, I'm not around the program, but I got to think that he can't be happy with that either.
So freshman year Harold Perkins, if he continues on that trajectory, he is in the Heisman race as a junior. And he's not playing football anymore. He's in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
But then you have we really want to move him to the middle of the defense. Let's see if we can hide our best player so that he can be a run stopper. And then last year there's an injury, obviously, and this year it's been better. But I mean, what a waste of talent. Woo!
Then you add in the president and the AD situation, and
And the governor.
Yeah, this is the thing.
And a lawsuit now.
Yeah, lawsuit because Brian Kelly doesn't like he's not getting his money. I was reading this story and I was fascinated by it because I know Verge Osbury because I sat next to him for a Florida basketball game one time. We talked the whole time and got to know each other. And now they're saying he's not really the AD. He's kind of the AD for now. And I'm like, well, that's interim. No, that's not interim. It's not permanent though. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
But then they've gone back again, and they've backed that up, and they're like, well, actually, no, he has the full decision-making authority. What I don't understand, so in this Brian Kelly lawsuit, you have Scott Woodward and Julie Cromer and Verge Osbury all in the room saying, you're out, you're fired, and now they're going, well, Scott Woodward didn't really have the authority to fire the head football coach, and so he was not officially terminated. What?
He should pull a Costanza and just show up for work.
But there is Napoleonic code still for the law of the land in the state of Louisiana. So I'm not just immediately ruling against LSU in this court battle with Brian Kelly, assuming it's going to happen in a Louisiana courtroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, it's always great talking to you. Enjoy the game. Tell the people what your game is. It's Oklahoma State against Kansas State.
Kansas State. It's in Stillwater.
Kansas State's been a little disappointment this year too.
Yeah.
You'll have fun. Hey,
you want to talk about one of those teams that's been close, but close doesn't count for wins?
Yeah.
In league play, I think they've got 2 3-point losses, a 1-point loss, and a 6-point loss. They're sitting at 4 and 5. And that's with Avery Johnson and a lot of good dudes. I feel like I owe you a thank you. We didn't even go down the Lane Kiffin road, but that suits me just fine.
We all know Lane Kiffin's coming here. There's no doubt about it. I keep telling people, you don't know that. And if you think you know that, you're wrong. You don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. Let me ask you though, what do you think?
I think that he's not gotten to a point where he's made a decision. That's
kind of what he said basically this week.
Yeah, and I don't think that was just. I thought there was actually some interesting insight into kind of his thought process on this. Look, there is no question he is intrigued by the idea of the Florida job. And I've got a friend, Neil McCready, who I heard say this earlier this week, and I thought it was an interesting take. If Lane Kiffin allows himself to go there and rewind 6 years in his mind, or 5 years back to that COVID year, and says to himself, I'm going to have an opportunity to go to Florida or LSU, and I'm strongly considering staying at Ole Miss. We'd be like, what world are you talking about? But we're in a different place, and we're in a different place in college football, and I do think, and there may be people that roll their eyes at this, and that's fine. This is a credit to what Ole Miss has done institutionally, that this is a decision, that it is not a slam dunk. In fact, it may be even a long shot that Lane Kiffin leaves at this point. Because from day one, in terms of the NIL, they have been extremely organized, completely bought in from both the fan base level and the administrative level. And I'm not just talking AD. I'm talking AD, university president, all of the major stakeholders, everybody pulling in the same direction. And Ole Miss is on the verge of winning 10 or more games in 4 of the last 5 years. It's never happened, at least not since the early, late 50s, early 60s. And it's a big deal. If it comes down to money, I don't think Ole Miss is losing it because of money. They're going to do what they've got to do. And so it's simply a thing where Lane Kiffin ultimately is going to make a decision of, where do I want to be? Do I want to be in Gainesville? Do I want to be in Baton Rouge? Or do I want to stay in Oxford where I've built a really, really cool thing and a sustainable thing? Because at the beginning of this transfer portal, that was the question, right? Everybody was saying, well, is it sustainable to build your roster through the transfer portal? Lane Kiffin said, yeah, it is. Not just build it, but build it to an elite level.
Well, and that's the thing. I have been telling people I think he's staying at Oxford, and then I've heard some information that now I'm kind of ambivalent about. I'm just going to let him make up his mind and let whether he wants to come or not. Because unless he's all in, there's no point coming, right?
Right.
Unless he is 100%, I want to do this. This is exactly what I want. So,
well, and if you made me bet or guess or whatever, at this point, I think I would say my bet is that he stays at Ole Miss, but I don't know. And here's the crazy thing about it. He could choose to stay at Ole Miss and not pursue another college job, and then Black Monday rolls around in the NFL, and he's like, oh, the Dolphins are open? The Giants? You could be doing this all over again in a month. He's a really good football coach,
right?
And he's a really good football mind.
He is. I think he's the best play caller in college football. And that's what I would like to see here, because we have been watching the worst play caller in college football for 4 years. But Richard, always enjoy it, buddy. And
Thanks,
I appreciate
Pat.
you coming on. All right, we'll be back with more of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after we take this break. Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Appreciate Richard Cross, good dude, man. I did get him on at Adina a long time ago, and he kind of owes me for If I ever get out to Mississippi again, we'll go play golf somewhere out there. I'd love to go to Southern Hills with him in Tulsa. Maybe I can just fly out to Stillwater. No, I don't think so. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, brought to you by our good friends Jen and Ken at Hesser and Kipke, 352-339-9920 and www.hklawfl.com. That's how you can get a hold of them for all your workers' compensation and family law needs. All right. I know Ken was at the game Tuesday night, and he was texting me about how bad a shooting display it was, and I totally agreed with him. They need to just quit shooting threes, but you can't do that. That is part of the game, and it's got to be part of your game. That's how you get back into games. That's how you blow teams out. The threes are very important. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Number 1, do you like those Geico commercials? Well, you're going to be thinking about them because it's going to be on the field for the last 2 games. A Geico strip, banner, whatever you want to call it, will be down on the field. That was something that the NCAA decided to start allowing, and I was kind of wondering why Florida hasn't been doing it, but they are doing it for the last 2 games. I guess they just got the deal signed with Geico, and maybe Geico can come on as one of our sponsors. Nah, I don't think so. I don't know if they would be interested. Look, if you know anybody from Geico, have them call me. We have an opening. In fact, we had a sponsor drop off for next month, and we're happy to bring on some more. And again, we can do whatever you want us to do because we're very giving. So that'll be interesting, I guess. It's like I still can't get used to that. What is it? What is the thing the Braves wear? It's a cement company or something on their helmets and on their. It just kind of. But hey, anything you can do to get extra revenue is a good thing in this day and age. It's how you're going to be able to pay your $20 million a year. I don't know how long this is going to go, but it's going. I know it's going for a long time. For the House settlement. Maybe you don't have to cut the budget. So, they cut everybody's budget by 5%, every sport. Maybe you don't have to do that anymore. Maybe you can get enough money from Geico and somebody else, Publix or whoever. I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that it's a good move to get them. Even though it may look kind of silly when you look at it the first time, you're probably going to go, I don't like that. Just remember, it's helping out the University of Florida. You got to remember it that way. Let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that we have our AL Cy Young winners. We did have a Brave. Baldwin won the Rookie of the Year. I care about Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, and that's it for baseball awards. Golden Glove, don't care. Silver Slugger, don't care. I just care about those things. So, but of course, a Brave was not in contention for this, but Scooble and Skeens, the firm of Scooble and Skeens, won the Cy Young. Scooble for the second time. He was a unanimous pick. I don't know how you could have voted for anybody else other than those 2 guys. They were just ridiculous this year. There are some other guys you could vote for, I guess, and a lot of it is provincial thinking, and we do that sometimes. But look, they're tremendous, and they're going to be around for a long time. So get used to them. Now, what you hope is that they're being handled correctly and they don't blow their arms out or anything like that. But I know that they've done a good job with it. So anyway, Scooble and Skeens win the Cy Young. Finally, number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Boy, this became a big deal that was not any deal at all. But Billy Napier at the Georgia practice. Now, if he'd been at the Georgia practice a few weeks ago, that would have been a big story. Bigger story. But he was there this week. And so, look, he and Kirby coach together. He and Kirby are friends. They get along. He probably called him and said, hey, I got nothing to do. I thought maybe I'd come and watch you guys practice. Maybe I can get some ideas for my next job, whatever it might be. My gut is it's going to be an analyst job somewhere. But people made way too big a deal about it. He's giving them trade secrets. They already beat Florida. That game's over. You're not giving them any secrets for next year. It's going to be a different coach. Calm down. Everybody. All right. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Appreciate Ken and Jen very much. Let's move along to another guy I appreciate, Adams Ribco. Adam Brewer and Michelle over there doing a great job. Our Gator of the week. We always love our Gator of the week, and we always love the ribs. And Friday, the Nana's Nuggets. Good as it gets, man. That fish nuggets, just melt in your mouth. Let's get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the week, and that is our friend Jenny Rowland, who we may have again on our podcast because we love our gymnastics. We watch them all the time. Go to them sometimes as well. But Jenny Rowland, yesterday was signing day for all the Olympic sports. I almost said minor sports. It's not minor sports, believe me. It's Olympic sports is what we like to call them. Signed 4 different players. Sorry, I got an itch on the nose. 4 different players who are 5 stars. And that's pretty good. I don't know if you can do much better than 5 stars. And the interesting thing is, gymnastics, it's not like you can say, I'm just going to recruit the state of Florida. Nah, that's not going to cut it. It's not a powerful gymnastics. There are some here, but so here's where she got her gymnasts from on this signing class. Texas, which is a hotbed. Texas is the hotbed for gymnastics and has only one school that competes in it, and that's Texas State. It's weird. I did a big column on that, I don't know, 6-7 years ago when I was working for the Sun. Texas, New York, Georgia, and Washington, the state of Washington. So those are the 4 states she went to get them. Now, again, you're going to meets and you're seeing them. It's not like you're having to, I don't know how many in-home visits she makes, but anyway, great job by Jenny Rowland. That has earned her Gator of the week. I know she's excited about that. I'll take her to Adams if she wants me to. She is just a great person. I love her. Let's get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick pick. Carlos, I apologize. I will do it today. I promise. I have not gotten you that hat, that signed hat yet. But don't forget, you guys are all competing for $50 this week because Carlos eschewed that in lieu of a hat, signed hat. Leonardo's Pizza of Millhopper, place to go. Kyle Cohen does a great job and helps us out with a lot of great things. And looking forward to it. I think Kyle's going to New York this weekend. So good luck there. Have fun seeing his daughter. All right. We're going to give you 2 games. Get one of them right. If you get 2 of them right, you get 2 credits. Okay? We're going to do that thing where we do that every once in a while. And we're not that far away from making another poll. Believe me, probably end of November. All right. Our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. 2 games. You ready? Florida getting 15 at Ole Miss. I don't know where I would go there. I really don't. That's why the spread is 15. If it was 12, I would go, I think Florida can stay within 2 touchdowns. If it was 19, there would be no question. 15 is kind of like where I don't know. It was, and it's gone up. So the money's coming in on Ole Miss. They're ready to bet on Ole Miss. And then Kansas City getting 4 at Denver. The Chiefs at Denver. Denver's a tough place to play, right? But they're getting 4. I'll talk about that one a little bit later, all right? But those are your 2 Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Get both of them right, you get 2 credits. Get one of them right, you get 1 credit. Get none of them right, you get bupkis. 0.0. But appreciate everybody for sending to patrickdooley54@gmail.com. That's where you send it, and that's also where you send any sponsor inquiries at patrickdooley54@gmail.com, especially if you have an insurance company. We're ready to get on board with that. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. I don't want to talk about that now. All right. Let's get to our next thing, which is this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other. We love our this, that, and the other. We invented this, that, and the other. I don't want to say we invented it. Coach Spurrier invented it. Other people have taken it from us. They take a lot of things from us on some of those shows. Anyway, this, that, and the other is brought to you by our good friend Notary Joe. Of course, Joe Newton does a great job. He'll come right to your house and do your notary work. 863-990-4884, the number to call. just give him a call or reach him at notaryjoe80@gmail.com, and he will serve Alachua County and surrounding areas and do a great job for you right to your house. A mobile notary. You can't beat that. And by our good friends at Dar Shakow Insurance. Dar Shakow Insurance for all your home, auto, commercial, and life needs. We appreciate Dar Shakow Insurance. We are looking for a third sponsor on this. We've reached out to a couple people. I haven't heard back yet. If you're interested, just let me know. PatrickDooley54@gmail.com. Here's the this, that, and the other. Okay, remember when kickoffs in the NFL, they were trying to figure it out, right? They tried one thing, they tried another thing, just wasn't working. Kickoffs had become kind of oblique. They were, onside kicks were out. You had to tell them you were doing an onside kick. Everything they tried didn't work. They wanted to make it safer. That's the this. The that is, then they finally hit on the right one. They took it from the UFL or XFL or whatever it was. And you know what it is in the NFL. Now you have a landing area. If you got to hit in the landing area, if you kick it out of bounds or through the end zone, it comes out to a certain yard. You're basically almost in field goal range after every kickoff because guys are running them more back. And that's the difference. In 2023, 21.8% of the kickoffs were run back. This year, it's almost 80% of the kickoffs have been run back. So they achieved what they were out to do. However, let's get to the other. The other is, guess what? On kickoffs, there have been 13 concussions. A year ago, in the same time space, 1. This is what I've been wondering. Why? And I still like the kickoff rule, but why do something for safety and then go, no, we're going to do something else, and we don't care about safety anymore? Concussions are the biggest reason. Although I think a lot of it is other injuries that people had, obviously to the knees and stuff. Kickoffs are a violent sport. I mean, a violent part of the sport, no matter what you do. But I don't know that there's a better answer than what they're doing now. But I also don't like that there's 13 concussions. And I'm sure the 13 people don't like it either. But we'll see what they can do about it. I mean, I think they got to kind of stay with it because it's drawing fans. I think people are excited about it. All right. That is our this, that, and the other, brought to you by Dar Shakow Insurance and by Notary Joe's. Let's move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week, brought to you by our good friends at Gallo Car Wash, where all the Dooleys go to get their car cleaned up. And they do a great job, put you on that little roller, and you just take your hands off everything, and they run you right through there. It's a great place to go. Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is our friend Bradley Beal. Now, this may seem like a shot at him, but the bottom line is Bradley Beal's now out for the year again. He's been injury prone. He's had a lot of injuries, but he's so good. He's a talented guy. We all know that. We saw only 1 year of him. And that 1 year, he was awesome. I remember that Louisville game. Every time he'd make a three, I go, cha-ching, he's going to make a lot of money. Excuse me. Well, now he's got a hip fracture, so he's going to have surgery. He's out for the year again. And I looked it up. He will have made at the end of this year $342 million from the NBA, from his contract. And what's he ever won? 0 point. I mean, he hadn't won anything. He's been on bad teams. Now, that's true. And he's been injured a lot. But he keeps getting good deals because he's got that level of talent. And I think people just want to see him play. I'm not being critical of him. What I'm saying is that's why he's the sponge of the week. He's gotten $342 million minus taxes and really hasn't done anything that makes anybody want to put him on a exalted status or a winner. Or it's not his fault, but I'm just explaining it. Again, I'm not trying to rip him. That is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Let's move along to our Los Landeros Smooth Move of the Week, brought to you by our good friends at Los Landeros Tequila. Go beyond with Los Landeros, my favorite tequila and Urban Meyer's favorite tequila. We appreciate them. Our Smooth Move of the Week was our man, Pat Kelsey. Now, I do like a man named Pat Kelsey because I'm named Pat and my daughter's named Kelsey. So Pat Kelsey is a cool name. But more than that, on the same night when Florida beat FSU, I also had on my second TV for the last part of it, Kentucky and Louisville. I enjoyed watching Louisville beat Kentucky. I always enjoy watching Kentucky lose in basketball. I don't care about them in football, except when they play Florida, but basketball, I do want them to lose. It's a long story. But he got so excited when he went into their little locker, or they have a little practice court where they went to meet with his assistants after the win and just get fired up. And they wanted to douse him and hug, basically dogpile him, and he ran away from him. He didn't want to get it and ran into something, a curtain, and somehow hurt his finger. So he had a splint on his finger for the post-game press conference. I want you to get hurt when you beat Kentucky. I want you to be that excited. I want everybody to be that excited when you beat Kentucky. And he is our smooth move of the week because he ran away from those guys and ran right into something. Smooth, man. Like Los Landeros tequila. All right, let's move along from that to our mybookie.com segment. I did speak to my man from mybookie.com, and we got some things straightened out that I screwed up probably, but they're fine now. It is the place to go, mybookie.ag, if you want to do any betting on NCAA, NFL, casino betting. Certainly, you can get involved in horse racing too. And if you use the promo code Dooley, you get a special deal on your order. So do that. I'm telling you, you'll get, I think it's like you get half of what you put in. If you lose, you don't really lose it. You get it moved over. All right. Here's my bet of the week on mybookie.ag. Denver getting 4 points against Kansas City. I saw that spread. I was like, Denver's probably going to win that game. And they're getting 4, so if they lose by a field goal, thumbs up. I think that's a great bet. Which means don't bet on it because I'm always wrong. Now, I've been good on the NFL games. I'm not good on college football betting. I've just not done well. But that's my bet for mybookie.ag. Denver getting 4 at home against Kansas City. Let's move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Brought to you by our good friends at BMI TeleMed. They do a great job with your weight loss. Achieve and maintain with BMI TeleMed, 727-383-1677. I know a lot of people have reached out to them. It's worked for me, you know that. In fact, my doctor told me to get back on it the other day because it helps you in so many other ways, not just the weight loss. It helps you in several other ways, and he was explaining it to me. But so maybe I do need it. I'm at a low weight, lowest I've been in a long, long, long time. Probably since, I don't know, since I first moved to Gainesville. Yeah, I feel good. I feel good. All right, so our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week belongs to ESPN. ESPN did something this week. It was a smart move. I don't like it. I wish it didn't happen, but it's accurate. They re-ranked all 68 Power 4 quarterbacks. Re-ranked them, okay? I know where they had everybody ranked start the season, and they were way off. Nussmeier, Manning, all these guys at the top. Well, guess where DJ Lagway was on their new rankings? 55th out of 68. And my first reaction was, who is below him? And I looked at the guys below him, quarterbacks at Colorado, anybody who's played quarterback at Oklahoma State this year. Those were the people that were down below them. And that is, if you had told me that before the season, I would have bet a lot of money against Florida on every game. I would have lost the Texas game. I wouldn't have bet on the LIU game. That would have been Mississippi State was getting points, so I would have probably won that. But if I'd known that was where he was going to be ranked. But it is a very smart move of them to have him that low because that's the way he's played. You got to look at the numbers. You got to look at the performance. It is what it is. I hope. Look, maybe I've been rough on him, and again, I don't know that he knows that, or I don't know that I care that he knows it. But I've just been trying to light a fire under him, like they've been trying to do. I hope he figures things out, and if it's not at Florida, fine. He's a good kid. It's not he's a bad person. But I may have said he was when he's throwing his third interception. It's like, what are you doing? Look, we all know what's going on. We all know what's happening there. He needs to get somebody else coaching him. He's going to have that opportunity if he stays here. He's going to have that opportunity if he goes somewhere else. What if he went somewhere else and they hired Napier to be the offensive coordinator? He probably would go there. He would say, "Oh, yeah, I know he'll play me all the time." So anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. I'm not trying to be critical. I guess I am a little bit. All right, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club segment. We always like to talk about the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest club in the world, as we know that. And also, I think Saturn and Uranus also. It's the oldest club there. Noah Brandeis was awesome on Tuesday night. He had a great talk, told everybody what they wanted. What happens there, you have to leave there. I can't tell you what he said about certain things, but I will tell you that's why you want to be a member of the Quarterback Club, because I can't tell you things like that. But he said some really interesting things, and I if you get me alone, I can maybe tell you, but I can't tell you for public consumption. But Noah's a good dude, man. He's really doing well, and Noah and Jen, tremendous. I told him he's got a kid at Florida, a daughter at Florida who's a senior, and a son at Auburn. I think it's a junior, yeah. I said, you need to have two more kids, and you could put one at Arkansas and Auburn, or Arkansas and who else fired a coach? I'm blanking. Florida, LSU. Oh, LSU. Get one at Florida and LSU. You could have the grand slam of coaching fires. That'd be great. Anyway, he was great. This week, I can't wait to see Bob Kessling. I've known Bob for a long time. He was the voice, Tennessee football and basketball, just recently retired. But he'll have some great stories about Florida, Tennessee, and the rivalry that's there. Look forward to him. And then the following week, our friend Judd Davis is going to join us. Of course, he was on the podcast last week, but he's going to be the speaker for that meeting. Judd's always got some good stories, and he'll tell them. He has no problem telling them either. He's fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So that is our Gainesville Quarterback Club segment. Let's finish it up as we always do with our games of the weekend, brought to you by our good friends at the Swamp Restaurant. Appreciate Kyle and Ryan over there. They do a great job. It's a great place to go eat, and it is the best place to go to watch multiple games. And if you want to watch basketball and football at the same time, which I've been able to do here, but we'll be heading over there this weekend, I'm sure. So here are our games of the weekend. Don't forget the women are playing tonight, basketball against Samford at home. That's on the Plus. So if you want to watch it on the Plus, you can do that, or you can just go to the game, which would not be bad either. So here are the game. Here's the best game to me on Friday night is Clemson and Louisville. I want to watch that because Louisville still got a chance to get in. And I'm curious whether Clemson discovered something or if they just beat a crappy FSU team. So I'll watch that game Friday night. Also, Miami, Oregon. By the way, that game's at 7:30 on ESPN. Miami at Oregon. I don't think I'll stay up for much of it. I'll watch the beginning of it. Fox at 9 o'clock. Minnesota's not very good. Boy, that guy, PJ Fleck was a star. Now it's kind of flamed out, hasn't it? That's not fair, probably, but I say a lot of not fair things. Saturday's games, the noon game. Notre Dame at Pitt. That is the best game. It's noon on ABC. Also, I'll have USF at Navy on because I'm curious whether USF's going to be able to get that win and still have a shot at the playoffs. That's on ESPN too. 3:30, Oklahoma at Alabama. Boy, that is going to be fun on ABC. That'll be a fun game. 7, Florida Ole Miss on ESPN. Texas at Georgia on ABC. It is amazing how ABC, is it just me, or ABC and ESPN have the best contracts? They get the best games, and then you'll look and it'll be Oregon at Northwestern, is our Fox game of the week. Getting the SEC was a really smart move by them, paying as much as they did. It was really smart. But every big game that you seem to watch is on ABC. And there'll be occasional game on Fox, occasionally CBS. Boy, CBS. Sometimes I watched one game on CBS last week. I watched the Penn State game? Yeah. Watched that game. It was a great game, of course. And I was like nostalgic for the days of, Gary Danielson and whether it was Vern. I loved Vern, but, I was nostalgic for that. But, man, that's about the only game I've watched on CBS. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent there. Also on the ACC network, Virginia Tech at FSU. Yes, I will have that on one of the TVs because I want to see if FSU loses again. And I'll always enjoy that. NFL, some great games this weekend. Detroit at Philly is an 8:20 game on NBC. That'll be a fun game. We talked about Kansas City, Denver. That's a 4:25 game on CBS. Also, basketball. There's some good games this weekend. Saturday, UConn at BYU, two top 10 teams. That is on Fox. And then, of course, the Florida game is on ESPN at 8:30, a late game against Miami. I think that's to let the Jaguar crowd get out of there, I think. I'm not sure why it's so late. But TV gets what it wants. Also, you have Sunday, Houston at Auburn. That'll be another good game. That's at 3 on ESPN. So you got a lot of stuff to watch this weekend. A lot of football, a lot of basketball, a lot of things. And it's great. And I appreciate all of you who listen and watch this. Again, go to patreon.com if you want to read my stuff. Just do patreon.com/duly noted, and you'll be able to get all the stuff, including this podcast. I put that up there. And of course, Zach puts it everywhere else. And then we have the back nine will be on there, the grading the Gators, the lists will be on there. I'm having fun with it. I hope you are too. Come and join and be a member. And we've already got a lot of people who have us over 100. I think it's 130 or 140 people have already signed up to be on. And that's exciting because I want to be reaching people and I want to still have a voice in this community. And I want to have more of a voice, since I don't have a radio voice anymore, which is fine. Well, believe me, I am very happy I'm not on radio. Don't take that the wrong way. I could just sit here and come up with ideas and write, and I'm right. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'll be back with you on Monday with Coach Spurrier for our 500th show. I'm excited about that. Maybe we'll we should get some decorations or something, Zach. We should work on that. All right. Appreciate Zach so much for doing everything he does. He has to deal with me occasionally not being able to read and having to stop the show for a minute because I have to do it without my glasses. See, here's what happens when I put my glasses on. It gets bright, or I put them in my eye. That's the other thing. I don't know. It doesn't look too bad. Maybe I can start wearing them again. I don't know. I can see without them. I just can't read without them. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of our great advertisers. We really couldn't do it without you. We'll be back with another show Monday. Until then, on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.